Sorry,
Yeah,
you were gonna say?
my great grandfather uh, was in the 1904 World's Fair.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
Mm.
right.
they're
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that.
very, yeah, granted, they were looked at as savages.
Mm.
Come see the savages. From far away, East Asia and the land called the Philippines, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then it's funny how it's like how
Mhm.
evolved it became over time. My mom did. I don't know if you guys saw it. PBS reached out to my mom a
Mhm.
few years ago, I think, and asked if they can do a story on her and her grandfather. And I mean, it was really cool. They actually interviewed all of us. It was really
Mhm.
interesting being on like the TV side of that kind of stuff, like a docu
Mhm.
series.
Right, right.
It's funny. It was a whole day of filming, and I think my mom was in it for a few minutes, just a few minutes.
Mm.
But I mean, that is going back to what you were saying. Like, yeah,
That's
it's
right. She got that whole she
yeah,
got in that interview and they talked about your great grandfather, right?
yeah,
Yeah, your
yeah.
great
My great
grandfather.
grandfather, yeah. So, but before that, there was an artist who reached out to my mom with my great grandfather, Ontero,
Hmm.
and she did a whole thing called "A Living Man Declared Dead," and it was a linealogy of like Geronimo's relatives, and then my great grandfather and his relatives. So this woman went all around the world to get our photographs with a wall like this, just like sitting, and like the
Oh wow.
linealogy of a dead man. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that was really
Yeah.
interesting. I don't
It is
Mm.
interesting.
so interesting. Um, but yeah, no, it brings me back to what you were saying. Like, yeah, it's just interesting how it's not maybe the way how we want to come out, especially in a fair like that. But
That's our
Yeah.
fucking legacy, man. Because
yeah,
our actually we had a relative that also went with your great grandfather. They
yeah,
went at the same time, and yeah, that's our legacy, man. Unfortunately,
Mm.
yeah.
but at the
Mm.
same time, it was interesting that we were able to kind of like go back there. What was it, 2004?
2004, yeah, because it was the centennial from
Mm-hmm.
1904 for the IIC. Yeah,
Mm.
I
yeah,
wasn't at that one, but my wife was.
yeah. I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good one.
And
That
just
was
to kind
cool.
of go back there and just God, we should do that as a
Yeah,
we should all go back there again and just like do some filming there. Gerald, what do you think?
I'd love to.
Yeah.
Sounds
I
like a
could
trip.
travel anywhere.
All right. Right.
There's a few
That'd
there's
be
a few
fun.
trips that we've already talked about. Like we've talked about going as a group to talk to some of the gangsta makers and kind of learn a little bit about the craft. So that's like
Mm.
that's one of our
I love that.
ideas as a
Yeah,
group. And then the other one is right now. Go back to St. Louis again.
yeah. I
Mm.
think. I mean, my goodness, Gerald, you guys can do so much with that. Like taking the shots, from back then to what it is now.
Yeah.
Uh, so during that time, uh, the they gave my mom a key to the city,
Oh
and they
wow.
did an apology to
A
the
what? An apology.
apology, a city
Oh yeah, yeah.
apology. Yeah, because the way how that all came about, to even finding out about my mom was there was a school called I think way down middle school, and
That's the one with the team called the Igorots.
their mascot was the Igorots,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then they I don't know at the time like maybe
Did the
like
mascot look cool?
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
sucks because I
curious.
can't find anything about it on
You know,
Google. It's
they
hard for me to
probably
find
like
I've
anything.
seen it before. I've seen
I've
it
seen it before
before,
too. I've
but
seen it before
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
but uh, I can't remember if it's. I'm just wondering if the mascot, didn't. I mean, look interesting.
No, I think it
Did it
looked
look?
kitschy, like the Chiefs or something like that.
Yeah.
From what I
You
remember,
mean like Chief Wahoo from the old Indian symbol? That one?
something like that. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe.
It was Y down middle school.
Y
Wide.
why
down. How do you
down?
spell it?
Why
Yeah, we
down?
talked about it actually in one of our podcasts,
Yeah,
right?
but I couldn't find anything about it at that time.
I have a PDF of of an article that was made um And then they talked about when the IIC happened. It was like a
Mm.
local article about the Igorot folks coming back, and a lot of the kids who were at that school didn't even know what an Igorotes was. An Igorot, because it was spelled
Oh yeah.
double T,
Yeah.
Igorote or something.
Right,
Grots.
right.
What is an Igorot?
And that's how the question,
Yeah.
just one question, like that's how. Because
Wow.
my parents and then joined in with the LA youth at the time,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, that's right. Because Arnold was there, I think.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
there's a whole production about it, but it was cool. It's Y down, WY.
WY down, right?
Oh yeah,
Middle school.
Y down. Yeah.
It looks like they took off the Igorot stuff. I
They
don't
did.
Yeah,
know
they
any-
changed it, right? They did.
Yeah, out of
Yeah,
respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like it's gone. I don't see any kids wearing Igorot t-shirt.
Yeah.
And then so how did it how did it come about? So from the PBS production and the artist, how did that all start exactly?
I think a lot of it had to do with the fair because I know Geronimo and our great grandfathers were there at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
With Taryn, she's the artist who took our pictures. I don't know. She just did a lot of research, I guess, and just I don't know
Wow.
if it had to do with the fair. And then PBS, they also just Googled my mom, or they Googled like, I mean, the whole point of it was an Asian American docuseries on like the progression of Asian Americans in our country and how they got here. And then my mom's part was pretty early on in the first episode. And that's where it all like started. But I don't know how they contacted her. I know if you like, I think I'm pretty sure it started with the whole Y down thing because once you go there, then it opens up a whole, like portal to my mom's grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's really interesting.
It is.
Yeah, and then got
Yeah.
he was learning English at the time, and he knew a little bit about it. So when President Roosevelt came to go around the fair, he was his translator. So he got to like do that, and then somehow,
Really?
he got to go to the White House, and
Oh.
yeah, it's really interesting. There's an article about him on that too. And he would say I think he did like "My Country 'Tis of Thee" or something. He was so proud to like recite it in the White House, and then they applauded him. And his biggest thing is that he said, "Thank you, thank you." After it was all done, but yeah, and it is really interesting. I mean, the stories that I heard about our grandfathers like being shipped over their families and then on trains, some of them not making it, and then having to be in that horrible cold, because there lasted, a while. And they're just seeing what they would do when it gets really cold. That, it's just
I was messed up, man.
yeah, terrible. Yeah, but then there's like the stories that you hear and the legacy that's from it too, which
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like you take both, but it's just crazy how it all happens and how it did happen.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting point. My dad's nickname back at home, they call him Antero as well. They call him Antero because like, your great grandfather was famous for, being the traveler that went out. And my dad was one of the first early few guys who came out and joined the US Navy from his area.
Oh, wow.
And they called him Antero because he left.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what people do. It's like it's Igor culture. Like they just like they'll name you after someone who's kind of legendary amongst the people, and so you get that nickname.
That's odd. That's so funny. Wow, I had no idea.
But we did have a relative that also went too. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, like, and then there were Igorots who went to Spain as well. And then there was like there was a Chicago exposition.
Seattle.
Yeah, there was the Seattle one. Yeah, there was like quite a few places, man.
Hmm.
How we were like, you just wonder what happened to some of them, because some of them they didn't even pay for a ticket back home. Like when they disbanded the whole thing and the president said this was illegal to do. I wonder what happened to some of those folks if they just integrated with and just settled down wherever they were at. You know, and
So
those
it
answers.
looks like
Oh,
it
sorry,
looks
go.
like Y Down Middle School. They are now the wild. They went from the Igorots to the wild Y Down Wildcats. I think that happened in 2016.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, you think about like the Washington Redskins, right? I mean, they're no longer the Washington
football team?
Redskins. They're just the Washington football team. I think they're gonna stay like that for a couple more years.
Yeah, I have a feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's your team, huh? So
Yeah.
man, what if they were the Washington Igorot? That would have been interesting.
Oh man.
NFL team named after Igorot.
So funny.
Yeah, life
It would have
is,
brought some attention.
For sure.
that's true. We would have been known. The narrative would have been a little bit different.
Mhm.
Right? It's always about that freaking narrative in the mainstream.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, like we've talked about this before, or I've mentioned it before in
Mhm.
one of our other podcasts. Like, how do you feel about when other Filipinos bring up the World's Fair? Have you seen any of those posts, Mia?
What's the latest?
Like, I don't want to like. So in one of our older podcasts, we talked about people sharing the black and white photos and whatnot.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
iCat brought this up. You know them. They brought up how they're showing like black and white photos of the World's Fair, but they're not talking about it in the exact context, similar to how I was ranting about earlier.
Yeah.
Like they're not mentioning, yeah,
Mm, mm,
they're not
mm.
mentioning Igorots.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's mixed. There is one thread that I saw that I know exactly which one you're talking about. My
Mm.
mom chimed in for that one.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So at that point, I was like, all right, I'll just just eat my popcorn.
Let your mom do the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best one. So I was like, all right, cool. Her way of doing that was almost recaptioning what the picture actually was, but going through every comment and doing it too.
Yeah.
Everything new. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Mixed feelings on it.
it's tough because there's I guess for most of us who do know more than others, then there's almost a responsibility to educate folks, you know, but try to educate them in a way where it's like you're not just trying to shit on them. You know what I'm
True.
saying?
Yeah, it's a very delicate.
Yeah.
It can be, because
Yeah,
then otherwise, if you get really pissed off at him. This is just me, because like when I was younger, I would probably rail on somebody. You know what I mean? Just get really pissed off about it. But just being older now, I realize, like, man, there has to be different ways to approach people about this so that they'll actually listen to you. You know?